What is going on, everybody? You got Matty Brawl here, and I am back for my bracket run in the Brawl for All tournament. And if you guys did not see my last video, it was my pool games for the BFA tournament. I'll call it BFA because Brawl for All is really difficult to say over and over again. Um, yeah, as I mentioned in the last video, Brawl for All is actually, I think, almost a 200-person tournament. So there's a lot of people in it, so it's definitely pretty cool in that regard. As I like the idea of these big tournaments and trying to make it all the way down to the end. But in the last video, if you did watch, you would have seen that we made it through to the brackets, but we went 2-1 because we just messed up in one game so badly, and that led to us entering the round of 72 instead of the round of 64. So we have one extra round compared to most other people in this tournament, which kind of stinks because I have a really offensive team, and with that being the case, it's difficult to win as reliably as when you have a really bulky team and you can constantly pivot back and forth and wear an opponent's team down. With hyper offense, you need to play really methodically, almost on point the entire game, pretty much. And most importantly, hacks can sway the momentum of an offensive team a lot more than it can a defensive team for the most part. As my team is not the bulkiest by any means. We have decent bulky pivots. If you didn't see my last video, my full roster is Tapu Koko with Z moves, Mega Medicham, Crocodile, Gengar, Klefki, Mesprit, and Delmise, and Licky Licky. So we don't have a fire resist, and that's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme in these games because offensive fire types just destroy me. They're just so threatening. As you can see, across the way here is a Pyroar. Now, Pyroar is not a Pokemon you normally would be too afraid of in the draft format. Not that it's bad. Offensively, it is pretty threatening, but it's weak to Stealth Rocks. It's frail. Just not a great Pokemon all around. But the fact that I do not have a Fire Resist makes it really scary for my team. So we're going against an opponent named Smeargle123. He has a pretty solid matchup against me because he has some Pokemon that destroy me because I don't have a Steel Resist either, so Bisharp is a major threat. He's got Mega Gallade, which I think is one of, if not the best Megas in the format. He's got the Pyroar, like I said, and then Landorus T, which is easily one of the best Mons in the format. So, even though he's got a little bit of a strange team, it is pretty good against me because he has good checks to things like Koko and his Electros and a potential offensive Landorus. And then, overall, I have a pretty bulky Medicham. The Medicham is pretty nice because it's got some nice priority and it's got a good amount of bulk, so Drain Punch can do a lot of damage, if not Oko, a lot of his team. I have Zen Headbutt because he had a Primarina, and it also does a lot to the Mega Gallade. And I believe I have Scarf Gengar again, Assault Vest Delmise again. Actually, I may have a Berry on this Delmise. I think it's Assault Vest. I'm not sure, but I have Brick Break on this Delmise because someone in a mock brought dual screens against me, and that actually ended up screwing me over kind of badly. And Bisharp is the best switch into my Delmise. So, I mean, it doesn't take Earthquakes well, but if screens are up, it can. And either way, it could take at least one Earthquake, so it can sort of come in on Delmise, especially if it expects like a Power Whip or an Anchor Shot, Shadow Claw, whatever it is. So, I can't remember the Koko set, but I think it's Z Brave Bird. Anyway, we'll get into the game. As here he leads with his Delmises. I forgot to nickname my Pokemon in this game. I didn't have Intimidate on this Crook. I had Moxie for a reason. You would think that normally for a lead Crook, I would want Intimidate, for things like Landorus, Mega Gallade, Delmise, whatever it is. But he has a Bisharp on my team, and Bisharp just goes so wild against me that this set is designed to check Bisharp because in this person's replays, they were leading with Stealth Rock Bisharp a lot. So I did not want to give Bisharp an attack boost, and I have enough defense to be able to lift 2 low kicks from an adamant non-life orb Bisharp. So that's why I don't have Intimidate on this thing, and he just blows me away with Power Whip. So here I go into my own Delmise here, kind of weird, but I am having a lot of speed to potentially creep it. I do just go for the Shadow Claw. I didn't know if he would go right into Bisharp, but he does make the aggressive switch. As here, I'm going to stay in and make an aggressive play because a knockoff would have knocked me out here. But I stay in. Whoops. I stay in and go for the Brick Break and knock out the Bisharp because I just don't have a switch into the Bisharp. And my Delmise was mostly here to check the Primarina on his team, which he did not bring. So I don't need my Dhelmise that much anymore. So here he brings in his Mega Gallade, as I do have a decent switch into this. Well, not a decent. Coco isn't really a great switch in, but an Ice Punch or a knockoff. The only things that potentially knock out my Dhelmise will not do too much to my Coco, as I could bring this in and keep up the pressure really nicely, because the matchup really isn't too good. Scarf Landorus just bodies what I brought, so I really need to keep up the pressure so I can keep things healthy and certain things alive to be able to either sack them off or just, for example, having Uxie around so he can't just spam Earthquake against my team. So here I go for the Fake Out just because I want to put this in guaranteed range of the Drain Punch, as here he makes a really aggressive play. I almost went for the Zen Headbutt here in case he went hard Dhelmise, but I was like, if he does, it's okay. I have Ice Punch for the Dhelmise, but he actually brings Yachi Berry. So I should have gone for the Zen Headbutt there, but I didn't want to risk the miss. Maybe I should have just brought, what's it called? Psycho Cut. But as you're going to see, I live the Shadow Claw because this Medicham is so bulky. I've been investing so much defense into my bulk in general into my Mega Medicham. But that damage tells me that he probably was not max attack Dhelmise, because that still would have killed me if he was max attack. But thankfully we were able to live that and knock him out with this next Ice Punch. Man, that really was not good for us, as Medicham was so good against his team. Like, look at this. A full health Medicham could take any hit from Scarf Landorus pretty easily. I could take hits from Mega Gallade pretty easily, actually, and do a lot of damage back with Zen Headbutt. I could take hits from Pyro. I had a lot of Spadef on this, and Drain Punch and get back up to full, and I could knock out Electros from where it is and Drain Punch for some extra HP as well. So I'm going to save this, though, because the priority is really nice. Is here, he goes right for the Earthquake, and now I just let my Dhelmise go down, as I'm able to bring in my Tapu Koko here, and I believe I go for the U-turn. Again, no, I just go right for the Z Brave Bird, because I really, if he stayed in with his Gallade there and I went for something else, I would have been in a really bad spot. So I was kind of forced to go for the Sky Strike there, but because he switched out, he's kind of close to being in range of Brave Bird now. So if he comes in on rocks one more time or takes any hit from the rest of my team, then he will be in range of a Brave Bird most likely. So here, he goes for a Will-O-Wisp on my Mesprit, which I was not expecting. And that's actually pretty good for him, because had I gotten non-burned U-turn damage on this Gallade, then I would have been able to knock him out with my Coco here guaranteed. So now I'm forced to go into my Gengar, which is Cobra Berry, as he actually ends up winning the Speed Tie, which I didn't expect him to win, because the U-turn damage revealed that he has a lot of bulk on this Gallade. So I didn't expect him to have max speed. I figured, maybe he wouldn't have max speed on this, because I've been running Scarf Gengar in so many of my games, so maybe he figured it wasn't even worth it. He could just creep my Crocodile or something like that. So here, I lose the Speed Tie, but I have no other play. I have to kind of stay in here and hope that, because Shadow Ball was a roll there, and unfortunately I did not get the roll, so now I have to hope that I am able to win the Speed Tie, or that he doesn't have Shadow Sneak. And thankfully he does not have Shadow Sneak, and we do knock him out with the Sludge Wave. So here he goes into Pyro, which tells me this is probably Scarfed, but that's good, because that kind of ensures my victory here, because I can go into Mesprit, easily take a Flamethrower, and Healing Wish back up into my Mega Medicham, which was so nice that it lived the Dhelmise's Shadow Claw, because now I'm able to Drain Punch here and get enough health to take a Scarf Earthquake easily from a Landorus. And if he's not Scarfed, then Ice Punch just kills him anyway here. And if he's Yachi Berry, then he can't knock me out with a move anyway, so I could just 2-KO him with Ice Punch. So here I go for the Ice Punch, and he's not Yachi Berry or Scarf, so I just knock him right out. So Medicham is a beast, and we do win our first bracket game. So here we move on to the round of 64 against Cameron Blazeit, and this is a little bit of an odd matchup. He's got Mega Aerodactyl, which is a big threat. He's got his own Tapu Koko, but I kind of like my matchup here. But this is just one of those games where I just played on like the worst kind of autopilot. Like I had a good matchup, and I built a good team, and I was just like, you'll see. It was, I don't know if it was as bad as the K Kirby one, because that one I made one big misplay and then just totally tilted from there when I still had a shot. But this is still pretty bad. As I lead with my Shoddy's Mesprit, or Shoddy's Mess Spirit, because Shoddy hates that a lot of people call it Mess Spirit instead of Mesprit. So I named it Shoddy's Mess Spirit. As here, he goes right for the payback with his Serena. As here I U-turn, and I go into my Tapu Koko here, thinking that he wouldn't spin, that he would go for another payback, because I think payback still doubles in power if you switch out. So that would do a lot to my Delmise. So I figured he'd probably go for payback again, but he actually does go for the spin here, which kind of sucks. I probably should have gone Delmise here because I don't need it for... I guess it is kind of nice for the Keldeo, but he did get me on that one. And he ends up getting me again, as this Tapu Koko set is a bulky Roost, Calm Mind, Hidden Power Water set, because he actually had a camera up on his team. So this Koko has an amazing matchup this game. But as you're going to see, I'm not going to play it the best. As here I go back into my Mesprix. I really want these rocks up. As he actually goes right into his Koko there. And I'm going to go into my own Koko here, knowing that he can't do too much, and that he's probably going to U-turn. So I can get some leftovers back, and I'm almost at max HP. So I'm going to go for the Calm Mind here. As I guess he was expecting my Crocodile to come in on the Necrozma. As here I go for the Thunderbolt just to scout the damage, and that tells me that he's probably AV on this Serena, but that Drop Kick does nothing. So here I should go for a Roost here. Like, there's no reason for me to not go for Roost, but I really wanted to go for Calm Mind, because if I get up to +2, then I could just win the game. But I really need to stay healthy, because my Tapu Koko is EV to live and Earthquake from a Mega Aerodactyl, even if it's Adamant, after Stealth Rocks. So I need to get to be above, 87.5% with this Roost, because he could U-turn here, and knowing that I can't knock him out with anything and go right into Arrow. So I definitely should have Roosted here. But instead I get greedy and go for another Calm Mind, because if I go for another Calm Mind and he Trop Kicks, then I am in a really good spot. Actually, not really, because then he could just U-turn the net. It was a terrible play. It was a really bad play. I should have Roosted here without a doubt. As I get greedy and go for another Calm Mind, as he does U-turn. And he actually gets a crit just to kind of rub salt on the wounds here. Here he gets a switch into his Mega Aerodactyl. So I switch out and go Crocodile, as he does go for the Earthquake here. And I'm a Scarf Crook, as it has a pretty good matchup this game. And here I go for Thunderfang, because I just don't have another play here. I really want these rocks up with Mesprit. And I kind of expected him to switch here, because the Stone Edge might be able to kill, or should be able to kill a Mega Aerodactyl. But it turns out that he's a really bulky set, and this Thunderfang doesn't even do half, and he misses Aqua Tail. Now that definitely matters, because Crocodile is a menace to his team, Scarf Crook, so that definitely matters. I still have a good matchup otherwise, but that without a doubt makes a difference here, as now he's forced to play a little bit differently. As I do stay in and actually go for Thunderfang again, as he doesn't risk it. He doesn't risk the potential rolls. He goes right into his Tapu Koko, as here I go right into my Mesprit to sack it, which stinks because no rocks, but it really is going to be kind of hard for me to set up rocks anyway, because the only thing I could set up on is either potentially Necrozma and a Scavalier, because Serena could just spin if I try to set up on that thing. So here I go into Gengar and try to bait out the Escavalier, which I do, and I go into my Mega Medicham, and I'm kind of pissed because I had Fire Punch on this Medicham, but I took it off right before this game to put Toxic on. But I know that if he knows that Medicham has Fire Punch, that he's going to be going into Necrozma here. So I go for the Drain Punch here as he goes for the Aerial Ace. Just because if he did go Necrozma, it wouldn't be too big of a deal. I could just Drain Punch and then Toxic. Now here I know, because this Medicham is so fat too. Like an Aerial Ace from a max attack Escavalier. Obviously, Megahorn would have done more, but I guess he didn't want to miss. Either way, Megahorn wouldn't have killed, obviously. So, pretty amazing that Medicham takes the hit so well. Now, obviously, he knows that Drain Punch is going to knock him out again, so I'm going to go right for the Toxic here on the Necrozma, because I need to keep up some pressure, being that I was started off this game so badly. So now, I switch right out into my Crocodile, knowing that Necrozma just cannot do much to Crocodile. So I can go right for the knockoff here on the Escavalier, and I get my Moxie boost. I went for knockoff instead of Earthquake because I know he's got an arrow, but I wasn't really afraid of the arrow switching in. It was mainly because if he did go Keldeo, I could potentially knock off a Choice Scarf, which would be useful for me, as Here, I switch into my Delmise as he does go for the Calm Mind here, but here he knows he's going to have to switch out because even if he burns me with Scald, Power Up is still going to do more than enough. As here, I'm just going to go right for, I think, an Anchor Shot to knock this Serena out, not risk the miss. As here, I'm really hoping he brings an Arrow, and he does, as I have the Cobra Berry, and this Aerial Ace does nothing. Oh my gosh. As we're able to knock out the Aerodactyl. That tells me that this arrow really was bulky and didn't have a ton of attack. As here he goes into Coco, and he goes for Dazzling Gleam here as I go right for the Earthquake and knock out the Coco. For the people who sleep on Delmise, look at this Pokemon. Like, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I guess one of the reasons it's doing so well is because people do sleep on it a lot, but it really is a pretty good Pokemon. Like, it's just got a nice typing, a bunch of handy resistances, amazing. It's got a really nice offensive move pool and an attack stat that's so high that it really allows you to invest so much in bulk and not lose too much momentum because Anchor Shot traps things. And if you could plan good switch-ins to the things that are likely to switch into Delmise and can take Delmise's hits, then you can not be in such a bad spot when a hard counter comes in on Delmise if you Anchor Shot it. So it's just so good because it forces so many switch-ins and can rapid spin on most of them because ghosts don't want to come in on it. As it's got Ghost Stab that it could potentially knock them out with, and it's even a spin blocker of its own, a pretty decent one, as a lot of spinners can't do too much to Delmise. So now he goes into his Keldeo, so I'm just gonna sack this off, and now I go into Tapu Koko, and I go for the Thunderbolt. I should have roosted here. This was kind of dumb, as I could have just roosted to scout the or I could have Calm Minded here. Yeah, I could have Calm Minded first, then roosted, but I go right for the Thunderbolt because I pretty much have the game in the bag anyway, but I could have saved some differential there. The Calm Mind Coco had such a good matchup that I think I had this game because Calm Mind Coco and Scarf Gengar and Medicham all had such great matchups this game that I think I would have had the game in the bag despite the miss with the Aerodactyl, because even though Crook is putting in work now, it's mainly because I was able to play it so safely. Because I really was never really in a chance or in a position where I had a chance to lose. So I'm just going to be able to clean this up with Gengar here as, the game is over. So next we move on to the round of 32 and we face a rain team. Now this... Good night, Ma. Sorry about that. We get paired up against someone named Rishmal with a rain team. And overall, I don't really love rain in the format. I think it's better in 8-mon draft than 11, but his team, I wouldn't say normally would be too bad, but the fact that I'm so hyper offensive and my only water resist is Delmise is kind of bad. So I really needed to throw together an interesting team here. I have a bulky, as usual, bulky Mega Medicham with enough defense to take a Mega Swampert's Waterfall in the rain and do a ton back with Drain Punch. I have Thunder Punch. I think I have just enough speed for a Pelipper if he's not Scarfed, and I have Thunder Punch as well. And I can't remember what my other moves are on this Medicham, but Drain Punch, Thunder Punch, and maybe Fake Out are kind of like all the moves that I pretty much needed on this thing. I have a Assault Vest Crocodile because it really helps with both Coco and the Alolan Raichu, which Alolan Raichu would be a big threat to my team if I didn't have a Crocodile. Then I have Scarf Gengar, because I know I've been spamming Scarf, but I really think that it's the best set for my team. Not just this team that I brought to this game, just in general, because I have such great momentum grabbers and breakers that Scarf Gengar just comes in and cleans up for them so well. And Scarf Gengar also outspeeds Max, even Jolly Swampert in the rain, which is awesome, and I have Energy Ball to be able to pick that off. I could pick off his whole team, basically, except for Kingdra could outspeed me in the rain, and Alolan Raichu could outspeed me under electric terrain, and obviously Ferrothorn could take a hit, but I could easily easily Oko, Tapu Koko, Pelipper, and Swampert. I have an Assault Vest Cloud9 Licky Licky to be able to take hits from the Kingdra and also from the Swampert fairly well. I can't take 2 Earthquakes after Rocks from the Swampert or anything like that, but I could easily take, for example, a Superpower after Rocks and do a ton of damage back with Power Whip. And then I have a Yachi Berry Delmise to be able to just kind of hard counter for at least one turn the Swampert, because I can come in and take 2 Ice Punches after rocks and knock it out easily with Power Whip. I also have Giga Drain in case I don't want to miss, or I just really want to get some HP back, and preserve Delmise for maybe some Hydro Pump spam from a Kingdra. And finally, I have a Roxley Mesprit with Energy Ball and Thunder, because Energy Ball hits Swampert, and he had an Omastar as well, which he could potentially lead with. So I'm going to lead with my Mesprit, as I want to get up my rocks, my Shoddy's Mespirit, as I'm going to go right for the rocks here, knowing that he's probably not going to taunt with his Koko. As here I get up my rocks, and he goes into a Alolan Raichu. He goes right for the Thunderbolt, as I'm going to U-turn here. And that damage is nice, because now I can easily just go into Crook and just click Pursuit. Now, this Assault Vest Crook allows me to... Like, it's so bulky and Raichu's so weak without a boosting item that I could easily take 2 Focus Blasts from a non-boosted Raichu. And it turns out that he is a Z-move Raichu. So he misses Focus Blast. That doesn't end up mattering much, because that would have only done like 40%. As you're going to see later on, or right now, this doesn't really matter much. I guess it forced him to play a little bit differently, but he goes for the Surf, which would not have knocked me out had he hit the Focus Blast. And I still think he would have gone Kingdra after this, because Kingdra can easily he still would have thought Kingdra can easily knock out this Crocodile like he thought it would be able to just now. So I still think he would have went Kingdra, and it would have played out the same way. But regardless, not such a big deal. The only thing is that now I could actually take another hit from this Kingdra, which is bad for him. So here I go for the Earthquake and get some damage off from this Ferrothorn. This Ferrothorn is annoying, but the fact that I'm getting some damage on it now is actually pretty big for me. That's probably the biggest reason that Focus Blast miss would have mattered, because that Kingdra would not have been able to knock me out with that second Surf, so I was able to get some damage on the Pharaoh, because my only ways to break this Pharaoh are my Mega Medicham with Drain Punch, or my Licky Licky with Cloud9 Fire Blast, because I just could not afford other moves for this Ferrothorn in this game. I really couldn't. So here I go into my Medicham, and I just go for the Drain Punch. Obviously, I'm going to be the one taking damage here. I can't heal up anything because I'm at full. As here he goes into his Koko. So I can go into my Mesprit and stack it off here, as he goes for the Dazzling Gleam. And now I can go into my Use Banette, my Gengar, because even if he is a Scarf Koko, if he's locked into Dazzling Gleam, that obviously can't touch my Gengar. So I go right for the Sludge Wave, and even if he was a Scarf Pelipper, it wouldn't matter, as I'm a Scarf Gengar. So here he goes into his Kingdra, as I can go right into my Licky Licky here, as you are going to see this Surf just bounce off. Does absolutely zero because of the Cloud9, as here I go right for the Return, as he goes for Draco, and I'm able to knock out the Kingdra. Now he goes into Swampert. Earthquake has a chance to knock me out here, I believe, but it's the rolls in my favor. But Waterfall has no chance to knock me out. But I'm not sure if he realizes that Cloud9 is up, and he goes for Waterfall anyway, and he crits me, which kind of sucks, because I would have been able to just power up and just clean up easily with Scarf Gengar and get a nice 3-0, because Gengar would just click Sludge Wave twice, and the game would be over, because Power Up would do over 80% to the Swampert. But here he's going to go right for the Ice Punch against my Delmise, and I do not want to risk the miss. I just want to get enough damage to put it in range of either Medicham or my Gengar, but I'm just going to be able to Giga Drain again. As here he's going to go into Tapu Koko, and I think he has the Z Brave Bird here, and is able to, or he just has regular Brave Bird. He doesn't knock me out, but we just miss out with the Shadow Claw. We don't have Earthquake this time around, so here he just goes for the Thunderbolt, and it doesn't really matter, because I can just go into my Medicham and get the win with Fake Out. So that was a good game. Definitely a good game. Pretty cool to see us be able to win a match so commandingly against a rain team when we only had one water resist. But I really do enjoy playing with this team. And Hyper Offense is just home for me. You know, I really love and enjoy playing Hyper Offense, and I really think that I'm good at it. So now we are in the top 16, which is pretty cool. I didn't even though obviously I have high expectations for myself, I didn't really think I would make it this far when I realized my team had no fire or steel resist and whatnot. So I was definitely happy to make it this far. We're going against Shadow Blast, also known as K Crick. I don't know how you would pronounce his name, but it's K-C-R-I-C. It was his name on Discord and whatnot. And I've been watching him recently in the Hive and whatnot, and he seems to be like, one of the better draft format players out there. He looks really, really solid. And he's got a team that normally I would have a pretty decent matchup against if he didn't have that damn Darmanitan, because Victini is bad, but Darmanitan's even worse because that thing is just so ridiculously strong that any Jolly set just destroys my team. Like, even Assault Vest could be so annoying because, like, if he knows I'm going to bring Scarf Gengar, he could lure me into thinking that I could pick him off, and then he could take a hit and knock out my Gengar. But overall, Choice Scarf Darmanitan is such a common set, but it's really, really effective against me because it outspeeds my whole team unboosted and just 2-hit KOs everything. Like, even a max defense Licky Licky gets 2-hit KO'd by Flare Blitz after Stealth Rock. So it's really a menace to my team. And he's got a pretty annoying defensive core. He's got Toxapex, Tangrowth, Mandibuzz, and he's even got Stunfisk and Registeel on his bench. And then he's got Tapu Koko, which is a pretty big threat to my team. And he's got a Mega Alakazam, which, even though it's a really big threat to my team because, yeah, Assault Vest Delmise can take a couple hits from it, but he's got really good checks to Delmise, like really good checks to Delmise, which sucks. And he also has or just the fact that he's got a Pokemon that can outspeed my Koko naturally is really annoying because usually I don't have that problem. Usually if someone brings in something to revenge Koko, it's either that I could take a hit from Koko or that it's Scarfed. So that is kind of annoying that he's got that Zam in that regard. But I put a lot of time into this team builder. I had a feeling that this would be a really tough game for me to win because if I get outplayed at all, or if he catches me off guard, or if I get hacks, it's going to be really tough for me. But I put a lot of time into this team, and I know that I have a shot to win if I play my cards right. I have a really fat, actually not super fat, but a fat enough Koko to be able to take a Modest Psychic from Mega Alakazam after Stealth Rocks, and we have almost max special attack Modest with Magnet because he just does not have good switch-ins, and we have U-Turn, Roost, and Toxic, so we really don't need any other moves. His whole team really struggles to switch into electric types, and his best switch-in would be Stunfisk, which does not appreciate the Toxic, and Tangrowth as well. So the Mega Medichim does not even have Fighting Stab. We are Adamant, we are bulky, and we have dual priority, which is really nice for his offense, like Alakazam and Koko, even Darmanitan. And then we have Ice Punch and Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch just busts through his team under electric terrain, and we both have Koko. And Ice Punch also hits the Tangrowth, which is great. And then we have a Focus Sash Taunt Stealth Rock Crocodile, because keeping up Stealth Rocks will be absolutely essential this game, or else we probably don't have much of a chance to win. We have Assault Vest Delmise because it is our pretty much only reliable switch into Mega Alakazam other than potential Choppa Licky Licky. But this Delmise does support the team decently well. Probably a little bit better than Licky Licky does in this matchup. We have Klefki here, Akaberry Klefki, which has enough defense to take a Scarf Darmanitan's Flare Blitz after a round of Stealth Rocks. But we don't have Prankster on this Klefki because we need Magician to be able to Toxic something like Mandibuzz, which is really important because Mandibuzz could come in on something like Klefki to defog, and we do not want that. We want to keep the pressure up on Mandibuzz so we can Toxic it, which would be really important. And I have Foul Play as well, because Foul Play could break the subs of a Mega Alakazam, and it could lure Darm, because if Darm goes for Flare Blitz, after Stealth Rocks, Foul Play can do a ton of damage, putting it in range of not being able to come in on rocks again, which would be awesome. And his whole team really doesn't appreciate Toxics. So that's nice, but my main win con here is Scarf Gengar, because I'm able to run Modest Scarf Gengar. And what are his Gengar switch-ins? Like, he even has a Toxapex, and that is not a good Gengar switch-in because, number one, if he's physically defensive and I have some layers of hazards up, then he struggles to switch into Modest Shadow Ball. But the fact that I have Thunderbolt, which is boosted by electric terrain, makes Toxapex a way less good check to Gengar. So Gengar is amazing this game, especially because he didn't bring the Stunfisk. And if I play my cards right, like I said, I can win this game. So he leads with Tapu Koko, and I lead with my used Colossoil, as I'm going to go right for the Stealth Rocks. If he stays in, it's probably because he's Shukaberry. So the fact that he stayed in here, obviously I do spam Stealth Rock leads when I have like hyper offensive teams like this, but Um, Risking Coco this early would not have been a very good play in my opinion, and I don't think even if he did his homework for this game, I don't think he would have wanted to risk that turn one, especially because I have brought Scarf Crook to a couple games. So the fact that he goes for Dazzling Gleam tells me that he is most likely Shukaberry on this Coco. So I'm going to switch out into my Klefki here because I can take the Dazzling Gleam and then go for a layer of spikes. And he crits me with the Thunderbolt. That was massive. Absolutely massive. And I will explain why. Because the reason you didn't see me, like I said, get up spikes first is because I do not have Prankster. So I did go for spikes, but they were going to go up after he attacked me. But that crit, he had no chance to knock me out without the crit, and he did crit me, which is so bad. As those hazards are so useful this game, because if I can prevent the Mana Bus from defogging, then his team really struggles. His defensive core really struggles to avoid my team breaking it, and his offense just easily gets worn down. And it also would have. This is the biggest part of that I didn't even realize, because I really thought that there was a chance that this Coco could have been Supersonic Sky Strike, but I did think that it would be Sugarberry because he stayed in on Crook, and it turns out that it was Sugarberry with Roost and Combine, meaning that Delmise completely shut it down. And what I was going to do was get up a spike and then go Delmise, because I really didn't think he'd be the Sky Strike. And if I did go Delmise on his next Thunderbolt or attack... Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I was rudely interrupted during my recording. So, as I was saying, that Thunderbolt crit was just brutal because I was not a Prankster Klefki. I was Magician because I needed to not be Prankster, because Prankster moves don't affect Dark types, and I really needed Toxic on things like Mana Buzz. So I didn't really need the Prankster that much, though, and I went for Spikes there. So what I was planning to do was, because I was pretty sure this Coco was Shukaberry and not Supersonic Sky Strike, I was going to get up a Spike and then switch out into my Delmise, because I probably would not be in range of a U-turn because Klefki 4 times resists that, so I doubt he would go for that if he had it. And it turns out he didn't even have U-turn, so it's not even like he could have gotten momentum on my Delmise. He would have probably gone for Thunderbolt again, and Delmise could have easily come in and taken absolutely nothing from that, because I'm Assault Vest and he's a bulky Combine Tapu Koko. Actually, he's not bulky yet. I think he's max special attack, judging by the damage on Crook, but still that would have done very little. And I just would have been in a pretty nice spot from there, because I would have had a Spike up, and I would have been able to go hard into my Coco after that, because if he did have U-turn, he would go for it on my Delmise, and if he did not, he would switch out hard into something like Mana Buzz, so I would be able to go right to my Coco afterwards and be in just a really, really nice spot against his team, not allowing him to set up hazards, and not allowing him to set up or remove hazards, and I would have another sack in Klefki, which would be just so nice because of things like Darmanitan on his team, or even potentially Mega Alakazam or his own Tapu Koko. So that was just so brutal, the fact that he got that crit there, because now I know winning this game is nearly out of the question. So yeah, so here I bring in my Gengar and I go right for the Thunderbolt, expecting the Toxapex to come in, and now I expect him to go into either Tangrowth or Koko. So I go into my own Koko, and I go for the Toxic because I really want this thing poisoned to help me wear it down for Medicham and even potentially Delmise. He goes for Earthquake and does pretty good damage. So here I'm hoping that he'll go for another move as I roost up, or switch out as I roost up. But no, he goes right for the Earthquake again. He does even more damage this time, as now I want to roost one more time, but I go into Medicham here, thinking that he probably doesn't have a move to hit me too hard. Gauge Drain would not do too much because I have a lot of special bulk on this Medi. I have enough to take a modest Mega Alakazam Shadow Ball after Stealth Rock, so that may explain why that Leaf Storm didn't do too much to a non-Mega Medicham. But still, that was a good amount of damage, and you're going to see it comes into play very shortly, as he's not in range of Ice Punch on this Tangrowth, which sucks because I'm kind of forced to go for Fake Out here, because if I do just go right for Ice Punch, then another Leaf Storm or like an Earthquake will knock me out. So he's able to play around with that fact and go right into Toxapex and the protect. The fake out does, you know, not enough to knock him out, obviously, and he has the Rocky helmet. And I had a feeling he may have Baneful Bunker here, but I didn't really have another play because I really need to keep this Toxapex low as he does just stay in. And here I click Ice Punch in case he wants to try to pull switch into Tang, expecting me to maybe go for Thunder Punch, but I know he's probably just going to stay in and sack this. I still have a very outside chance if I play this really well with Gengar, but it's not going to be easy. So here he goes into Mana Buzz, the one thing that Gengar can't right now. So that was a good play on his part. As I go into my Crocodile, knowing that he's going to want to defog, but he actually goes for the Roost first. So here I'm going to taunt to make sure that he can't defog. And now I have a feeling that he's going to U-turn here, but I just can't touch him. So I have only Pursuit and Earthquake on this Crook. So I switch out into my Coco, really hoping that he doesn't have U-turn, because I could roost up on this thing, but unfortunately he does go right for the U-turn. And he brings in his Darmanitan. So I'm forced to sack my Crocodile, and now I can bring in my Gengar. What the heck happened? Okay, so I can bring in my Gengar after the Crook goes down, as this Darmanitan is in range of Sludge Wave. But the problem, because spamming T-Bolt is somewhat of an obvious play, because a physically defensive Tangrowth with Toxic and if the Stealth Rocks is definitely in range of 2 Thunderbolts. But the Tapu Koko is not. And if I Sludge Wave and he's especially defensive Mandibles, then he could take 2, which would be annoying because he could roost up and then eventually defog, and then I pretty much lose the game. So I really want to prevent that from happening. And also if I spam Thunderbolt, then let's say he keeps his Darmanitan in here, then I can knock out the Darm, and he what's it called? I don't even know what I was trying to say. I just wanted to prevent the Mana Buzz from coming in and being able to heal up or defog or something like that, because Gengar, like my Coco is so weakened that it's going to be really hard for me to preserve it, and Gengar can't break the Mana Buzz unless I'm locked into Thunderbolt. So I really want to prevent the Mana Buzz from having an opportunity to defog. So I go for the Thunderbolt here, even though I really wanted to Sludge Wave, as he does make the good play and go Coco. And that kind of seals the game for him, because here I go into my own Coco as he goes for the Thunderbolt. And now I go back into my Gengar, and now he wants this Coco to go down, because now I can't just spam Thunderbolt and do so much damage to him anymore, as now I go back into Delmise, and he's able to just, switch out into his Tangrowth, which I know he's going to do, but it doesn't really matter, because now I could just, I Sludge Wave again, but now he's just going to be able to bring his Alakazam back in. My play is just to go for the crit. I could go into Delmise, but I calced it, and even like a min-roll timid Alakazam will be able to 2-hit KO my Delmise from there. So it's pretty much good game here, as my only chance is to crit, and we don't get the crit. We get the poison, but we don't get the crit. Now, if I had another Spike up here and another Sack, then you could imagine how much differently things would have gone. And I'll explain why, as obviously my Delmise isn't going to be able to win this game when he's got a Mana Buzz. So we lose 2-0 in the top 16 against Shadow Blast in a pretty intense game. Overall, I'm happy with my run. Like I said, almost 200 people in this tournament. Making it to top 16 is pretty good, especially with a team that's very hyper-offensive, requires really precise playing and building. Has to deal with hacks being a lot more threatening than if I had a bulky team. So I'm definitely pretty proud in that. I did play 2 games really poorly, though, I will say that. But this one in particular, I think I did play pretty well. But that one crit just totally shifted the momentum of the game. That's what sucks about offensive teams, because literally just one turn of hacks could totally make the game nearly impossible to win, which it did. The only way I would have won would be if he sacked his Coco to the Sludge Wave on Gengar, then I might have had a shot, but it was still more in his favor to win. The reason the crit mattered so much, and I'll explain it. So he does. Let's say he doesn't get the crit. I get up another spike. So both spikes and stealth rocks do 12.5% to neutral Pokemon like Tapu Koko, Tangrowth, Mega Alakazam, and Toxapex. The stealth rocks and spikes would put Darmanitan in easy range of like a Scarf Shadow Ball or something like that. That it puts Darmanitan, even if it has some bulk, in range of my hits a lot easier. But that's not really what's important. Let's say, for example, I preserve my Klefki, I get up a spike, and I go into Delmise. Then I have another sack. Like I said, I could have gone hard into Koko, so I still would have had a pretty healthy Delmise, and I would have had a Klefki sack had he switched in his Mandibuzz on my Delmise or something else on my Delmise. So that would have been really, really good for me because, for example, when I had to sack Crocodile to my to his Darmanitan, I could have sacked something that was pretty much useless at the time, like Klefki, and then brought in Gengar, which every time I brought in Gengar, something was dying because this was the big part. This is why the hacks really mattered, because had I had the extra chip damage, there wouldn't have been certain rolls. For example, I could have spammed Thunderbolt and not worried about the Tapu Koko coming in and taking a hit, because with the spike up, it would have been in range of another Thunderbolt. So, another Thunderbolt from Gengar, it would have been in range of that. So that was really unfortunate because Gengar already came in and pretty much took a kill every single time I sent it in. But with an extra sack plus the extra residual damage, then I didn't even need to predict, and I would have had another extra chance to bring in Gengar to just totally have the momentum the whole time, as I could just keep bringing in Gengar, getting a kill, and I wouldn't have had to play my Medicham so recklessly because, for example, I could have ended up sacking something like Klefki and then brought in Medicham healthily on something like his Tangrowth instead of having to switch it into a Leaf Storm. And Medicham, with two layers of hazards up, was just absolutely abusive against his team because the Bolt Beam coverage blew everything back, and the dual priority picked off both Zam and Koko, or at least weakened them, putting them in range of other moves. So had I gotten that spike up and preserved Klefki as a sack, being that his Koko was a calm mindset, meaning that it couldn't do anything to Delmise, it's hard to deny that I would have been in like a whole new world of a better position than I ended up being in. It's hard to sit here and say that I guaranteed would have won the game, but just thinking of how things could have played out in my head, I just would have been able to keep up so much pressure that I really don't think he would have been able to win. So that's unfortunate because, like I said, he seems like a really good player, one of the better players in the draft format. One of those hidden gem type of people, because I hadn't even heard of him before this tournament. And now I've been watching him, and I've realized that he's certainly a name to look out for. So, shout outs to him for great prep and a good game. But it just stinks because I really think we should have won that game. And it would have been really cool to make it to the top 8 and see how far we could go from there. But like I said, I am pretty proud of the run. I had a lot of fun with this team. I have a whole new love for Mega Medicham in the format now. I really have a whole new love for Mega Medicham and Gengar. Tapu Koko was really cool, but I don't think I think it actually supported the team better than it really did for itself. The one game I think it really just would have destroyed was the one with the playoff game where I had the Calm Mind Tapu Koko, but I didn't play that game particularly well, which didn't allow Koko to win as easily as it should have. But it really is a good mon. Like I said, I think it's a first-round pick, and if you could build a good team around it, it is just awesome. It's a lot of fun, and it fits my playstyle really well. So if I can draft Koko again in the near future, and it's not like I have to reach for it at number 1, then you bet I will probably draft Tapu Koko. So another pretty long video, but these were high-level games because with tough matchups or, tough defensive matchups, I always had pretty good offensive matchups. There weren't many teams this offensive core couldn't break, but with matches where it was hard for me to pivot into things defensively and some tricky, like legitimately difficult matchups, like the Rain team, the guy who had the Landorus, Bisharp, Mega Gallade, Primarina. That was a tough matchup. And then my whole pool having all great Coco checks and like Nidoqueen and stuff. I am definitely happy with my performance overall because even the games like the one against Kirby that we lost, I totally should have won. My building was on point in this tournament. I'm so proud of the way I built these teams. If I had more time, I would show you guys some of the teams because I think I just built fantastic teams for this tournament. But yeah, like I said, over 200 people, a lot of big names in this tournament, or just a lot of really solid players. A lot of the guys, like I said, are from the Hive, which even if they don't have the biggest names in the community, they are really solid players that can beat a lot of the bigger names in the community on any given day. So the fact that I was able to go to the top 16 with such a frail and offensive team and, come all the way from round of 72 and have some of these tough matchups, I'm definitely proud of the way I played. Just definitely kind of stinks that we had to go down to hacks here because any of the hacks that we did get some hacks in this tournament, no doubt about it, and it did matter. But I do think that in those games, I still would have likely won them without any hacks. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely know what you thought in the comments below. I really would appreciate some support and whatnot. And most importantly, I hope you all have a fantastic day. And I will see you all in the next one later.